Y'all planning for this?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reading Time with Jarvis. I am your host, Matthew Jarvis. And in this podcast episode, this mini episode, if you will, I like to highlight books that I've read over the last 20 years, and specifically the books that have made a big impact on my practice. And one of those books, and I'm actually surprised that I haven't reviewed this earlier in the podcast series, is the book Life and Death Planning for Retirement Benefits by Natalie Choate. So I've actually been able to see Natalie in person. She is a brilliant attorney, and this book is the reference guide for taxes in retirement. The book is focused specifically on retirement benefits, IRA accounts, 401k accounts, but it does cover a much broader span. Every few years when Natalie updates this book, I would imagine another update is coming soon, I immediately buy a copy and it goes on my bookshelf. I will confess, I don't often read this one year to cover to cover, but I do use it as a reference guide anytime I've got a tax issue, a 72T, an RMD, a weird beneficiary thing, owning real estate inside of an IRA, whatever weird retirement tax planning piece I've got, I go to this book. This book also saved a client of mine in an IRS audit. So we had a client get audited related to a Roth conversion that got a little complicated. And I went with the client to the IRS audit. And as we started getting into the strategy, I pulled out Natalie's book and flipped it open to the pages I had marked. And I could immediately cite the tax code behind the strategies that we did. As soon as we were able to start mentioning tax code, the auditor immediately backed off and basically just said, great, you guys clearly know what you're doing. I'm sure this is fun. Also a great tool when you're working with centers of influence, because I can say to the center of influence, I was reading Natalie's book, chapter this, tax code section this, wanted to get your feedback on this. So it puts me at a level of expertise, a level of credibility that does not exist if you simply say, hey, I heard on the podcast this interesting strategy, wanted to know your thoughts, versus, hey, I read in the tax code this, that, or the other. So this book must be found on the bookshelf of any advisor who's working with retirees. Really, I use it as a judge of character, if you will. If I go to an advisor's office and they work with retirees and they do not have this book, I immediately think of them at a much lower level. I was going to say charlatan, but that's a bit severe. Okay, action items or takeaways from this book. Takeaway number one, tax planning is difficult. One of the reasons so few advisors do it, which by the way makes it so much better for those of us who do, is that it's really hard. It takes a real commitment to provide adequate tax planning advice. By the way, it's also difficult to become a doctor or any top-level performer. So I'm actually glad that it's difficult, because if it were easy, every advisor would be doing it. So it is difficult, but the takeaway is having a reference guide like Natalie's book will give you a big shortcut. It will give you a big leg up on your competition. Takeaway number two, when you are working with centers of influence or your compliance department, having this book as a reference so that you can say, hey, we're looking at strategy A, B, and C, and here are the tax code references, like I mentioned with the IRS audit, makes it a powerful tool. Again, shows your level of expertise. Takeaway number three, and I've mentioned this already, tax planning, tax training needs to be a key component of your personal development plan. So Natalie's book is a great start on that. It is not, however, the only thing you should be looking at. There are many things that you need to be doing for tax training, but I would start with Natalie's book. Alrighty, in the immortal words of Nacho Libre, go away, read some books.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect